The flesh outlasted the stone that entombed it. This is a biochemical contradiction. Subscribe to the archive. Log your temporal and geographic coordinates in the comments below. The record requires a witness signature. The first law of biology is decay. Matter is recycled. Blueprints are erased. This is the fundamental rule of the system. But in the Hell Creek Formation of Montana 68 million years ago, we find the exception. The crime scene where the laws of nature were violated. Our primary evidence is a fractured femur. The subject, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Inside, sealed from time, we find flexible, branching structures. Red, spherical microbodies. The forensic profile matches vertebrate red blood cells. A biological impossibility. Protein chains should have disintegrated before the continents finished drifting. The autopsy of the fossil, however, reveals the grim mechanism of its persistence. The corpse provided its own embalming fluid. Hemoglobin is built on iron. Upon death, this iron was released, saturating the surrounding tissue. It created a chemical cage, a process called cellular fixation. Each protein was cross-linked, locked in place, an atomic prison, stopping decay cold. This chemical accident required an accomplice, a violent burial, a flash flood, a collapsing riverbank. The carcass was plunged into a tomb of mud and sand. No oxygen, no scavengers, no microbes. The engine of decomposition was starved before it could start. The rock that formed around the bone was porous. For millions of years, water percolated through, dissolving and replacing the stone itself. Yet the delicate, iron-caged cells inside remained. The ephemeral blueprint outlasted the geological container. This is not resurrection, it is a forensic snapshot. A chemical ghost trapped in the matrix. The stone is not just a tombstone, it is a vial of blood. This case proves the record is profoundly incomplete. It forces a new line of inquiry. Death is not an end, it is a transfer of assets. The moment the heart stops, the liquidation begins. The Cretaceous air is a warm, wet blanket, heavy with decay. On a riverbank, a juvenile hadrosaur lies still, its eye a milky orb. A shimmering black carpet of flies covers the hide. This is the system at work. The first responders are not predators. They are the body's own cells. The process is autolysis. Cellular walls fail. Digestive enzymes flood the tissues. The organism consumes itself from the inside out. This is the signal. The chemical dinner bell for the cleanup crew. Gut bacteria, now uncontained, begin their campaign. They are joined by legions from the soil, the water. Fungi weave through muscle. They are not killers, they are recyclers. A biological demolition team, breaking a complex machine back into raw materials. The clock is running. Every calorie, every protein, is on loan from the environment. A carcass exposed is gone in weeks. Skin, muscle, organs. All of it is reclaimed. Bone is a temporary monument, porous and fragile, ground down by pressure, water, and time. To become a fossil is to win a statistical lottery against total erasure. The iron-caged cells we examined were more than an anomaly. They were a fugitive from this absolute law. A crime scene where the evidence refused to be destroyed. A loophole in a contract that demands complete dissolution. But iron fixation is a microscopic solution. It does not explain the preservation of an entire surface. What grim accident is required for the skin itself to cheat the clock? A dry wash in the North Dakota Badlands. A grid of dust and rock. Under the excavator's blade, a pattern emerges on the sandstone block. Polygonal scales. Skin. The fossil is still wearing its hide. The subject is an Edmontosaurus, a 12-meter herbivore. prey. Its autopsy reveals a death by exposure, followed by a series of fortunate accidents. First, rapid desiccation. The sun and arid wind baked the carcass. The skin became leather. The muscles turned to jerky. This arrested the biological clock of decay, silencing the microbial demolition crew before they could begin their work. Then came the tomb. Not a flash flood, but a slow, deliberate burial in fine-grained, clay-rich sediment. The mud filled every crease. It pressed against every scale. It formed a perfect, airtight mold around the desiccated body. This is where the hostile takeover began. The environment itself became the embalming fluid. Groundwater, saturated with minerals like silica and calcite, seeped through the sediment. It was a slow, molecular invasion. A geochemical gauntlet. The water dissolved the organic molecules and replaced them with stone, one atom at a time. This is not preservation. It is replication. A high-fidelity forgery of flesh, executed over millennia. The result is a dinosaur mummy, a three-dimensional statue of the living animal, complete with skin texture and visible muscle fibers. We are not looking at a corpse that refused to rot. We are looking at a perfect mineral cast of a corpse. The skin did not outlast the stone. The stone became the skin. This forensic model is complete on the surface, but the mineral seepage is not superficial. It goes deeper. If the rock can forge an exterior, what about the internal machinery? The stomach is the first crime scene, a record of the last transaction. Sealed within the mineralized gut of the Edmontosaurus, we find its final meal, a compressed, dark mass of conifer needles, twigs, and fern fronds. A perfect snapshot of a Cretaceous menu. This evidence presents a double paradox. The plant matter should have been digested. Failing that, it should have been consumed by the bacteria of decay. The system failed twice. We assess that the rapid desiccation which mummified the dinosaur also flash-dried its stomach contents. This halted the digestive process mid-cycle. The subsequent mineral bath that replaced skin with stone also infiltrated the gut. It replaced cellulose with silica, creating a fossil within a fossil. The entire ecosystem is a detritus economy, a relentless transfer of energy. A plant is consumed, the herbivore dies. The scavenger picks the bones. The microbes reclaim the rest. It is a closed loop of consumption and recycling. Any break in this chain is a systemic failure. This fossil mummy represents a complete shutdown of that engine, a permanent withdrawal of biological assets from the system. Analyzing this gut content, we can read the environment directly. We know which plants grew. We can infer the season. The chemical signatures reveal details about the soil and the climate. The last meal becomes more than a menu. It is an environmental impact statement written by the victim. The fragility of the evidence is the point. The most delicate data, a half-digested leaf, was preserved. The mountains that stood over the scene have since been ground to dust. The system preserved the insignificant and erased the monumental. What other fragile signatures, then, might be hiding in plain sight? Case file: Liaoning Province, China, 125 million years ago. Evidence: a bed of volcanic ash, fine as flour. Ruling: mass burial. Subscribe. The case is closed, but the autopsies are just beginning. A lake bed. The water is still. The bottom is choked with black, anoxic sludge. Nothing lives here. Then the sky turns gray. A nearby volcano erupts. Not lava, ash. A pyroclastic flow, superheated and silent, blankets the landscape. It smothers everything. It seals the lake. In the ash layers, we find the victims. Sinosauropteryx, a small, feathered dinosaur. It is not a skeleton. It is a carbon silhouette. a black stain on the pale stone. The intense heat and pressure of the ashfall cooked the flesh instantly, a process called carbonization. The soft tissue was reduced to a thin film of its primary element, carbon, a biological photograph taken at the moment of death. This was a microbial dead zone. The volcanic ash was sterile. The anoxic lake bottom was hostile to the bacteria of decay. The cleanup crew never arrived. The rapid burial, the heat, the toxic water. It was a perfect sequence of environmental violence, a conspiracy of geology and chemistry to stop the biological clock. On these carbon films, we find more than an outline. We find melanosomes, the microscopic pigment organelles that give color to feathers. Their shape and density tell us the animal's camouflage pattern. Red-brown stripes. A bandit mask across the eyes. A counter-shaded belly. This is not inference. This is direct observation of a 125 million-year-old color palette. The system did not just preserve a blueprint. It preserved the paint. The irony is absolute. The event that annihilated the organism is the only reason we can see it with such clarity. Extinction provided the illumination. This raises a new question. What happens when the preservation is too perfect? When the chemistry traps not just color but the molecules of life itself? The ocean has dead zones, places where the water holds no oxygen. They are biological deserts. They are also perfect crime scenes for stopping time. 50 million years ago, Wyoming. Fossil Lake. The surface is clear. The shallows teem with life. But below, in the deep basin, the water is a toxic anoxic trap. Anything that sinks here, stays here, unchanged, unconsumed. We examine a limestone slab from this ancient lake bed. Inside, a fossilized fish, Nisha. Its preservation is absolute. Every bone in its delicate skeleton is articulated. The scales are still in place. The faint outline of its internal organs is visible. This is not the violent exception of a volcanic burial. This is a slow, methodical process of preservation. The mechanism is simple. No oxygen means no aerobic bacteria. The primary engine of rot is shut down. The carcasses drift to the bottom and are slowly covered by fine layers of calcium carbonate sediment. A rain of limestone dust, settling year after year. Each layer is a page in a stone book. The fish is an illustration pressed between them. This anoxic sanctuary did not just preserve bone. It preserved the chemical ghosts of soft tissue. We use mass spectrometry to analyze the stone around the fossil. The readings show biomarkers. Molecular fossils. The chemical remnants of fats and proteins that have survived for 50 million years. We cannot see the flesh, but we can read its chemical signature. Its ghost is still bleeding into the rock. The lake created a library of extinction. Thousands of species, captured with perfect clarity. But this clarity is an illusion. It is a record of failure. Each perfect fossil is a testament to an organism that died and sank into a place where life could not follow. This raises a fundamental question of evidence. Are we studying a record of life or a catalogue of perfect deaths? The hot springs of the Rhynie Church, Scotland. 400 million years ago, geysers blast steam into a thin, low-oxygen atmosphere. The water is a boiling, silica-rich soup. Nothing large lives here. But the microscopic ecosystem is thriving. This is not a crime scene of bone and flesh. It is a crime scene of cells. The evidence is a piece of chert, a microcrystalline quartz. Under the microscope, it reveals a world flash frozen in stone. Fungi. Algae. The world's first true insects. All perfectly preserved in 3 dimensions. The mechanism was brutal and fast. Rapid lithification. The silica-saturated water from the hot springs periodically flooded the surrounding landscape. As the water evaporated, the silica precipitated out, entombing everything it touched in a layer of mineral cement. It was a natural case of being dipped in liquid glass. This process was so rapid that it preserved cells in the middle of dividing. We can see chromosomes, nuclei, the internal machinery of life, arrested mid-function. It did not replace the organic matter atom by atom. It created a perfect, transparent cast around it before it had time to decay. In some cases, the organic material remains, a dark speck sealed within its quartz prison. The Rhynie chert is a biological Pompeii, a snapshot of an entire ecosystem, from the bacteria to the primitive arthropods that hunted them. It tells us that the rules of preservation are not just for the giants. The most fragile life can be locked in stone if the chemical violence is precise enough. We have seen iron cages, mineral forgeries, carbon stains, and glass tombs. All are violations of the natural order of decay. They are geological flukes, statistical outliers, but they reveal a pattern. Preservation is an act of aggression, a chemical assault that halts a biological process. It is never gentle. It is never passive. It is a war between chemistry and biology. And in these rare cases, chemistry wins. 66 million years ago, Hell Creek, Montana. The sky is on fire. A 10-kilometer-wide asteroid has struck the Yucatan. The shockwave travels at supersonic speed. The ejecta cloud blots out the sun. This is not a burial. It is a global termination event. The dinosaurs did not see it coming. They received no biological notification. On a floodplain, a Thescelosaurus is engulfed by a surge of mud, ash, and water. A lahar, triggered by the seismic upheaval. The animal is entombed instantly, its legs still articulated, the skin impressions locked into the sediment. This is the ultimate form of rapid burial. Cataclysmic. Indiscriminate. The agent of preservation is the agent of extinction itself. The fine-grained sediment of the impact surge created a perfect mold. The anaerobic conditions prevented scavenging and microbial decay. The sheer speed of the event froze the crime scene at the moment of impact. The evidence is not just the single fossil. It is the boundary layer, the KPG boundary, a thin, dark line in the rock strata found worldwide. It is rich in iridium, an element rare on Earth but common in asteroids. This layer is the tombstone for 75% of all species on the planet. This Thescelosaurus is more than a mummy. It is a victim, found at the scene of the crime, buried with the murder weapon. The preservation is an indictment. It allows us to perform a direct autopsy on the extinction event. We can analyze the sediment for impact spherules. We can read the pollen record to see the collapse of the plant ecosystem. The fossil is not just a data point. It is a direct witness. All previous examples were local accidents. A flash flood, a volcanic eruption, an anoxic lake. This was a systemic reset, a planetary-scale event that created preservation conditions on a global level. The exception became the rule for a single catastrophic moment in deep time. But after the dust settles, does the evidence become corrupted? 40,000 years ago, Siberian permafrost. A mining tunnel cuts through frozen soil. The ice gives up a corpse, a woolly mammoth calf. Its skin is intact. Its fur is still soft. Its name is Liuba. This is not a fossil. This is a cadaver. Time has not been tricked by chemistry. It has been arrested by temperature. Cryogenic stasis is the most effective form of preservation. It does not replace tissue. It simply stops the clock. The cold shuts down all biological activity. The bacteria of decay are frozen solid. The enzymes of autolysis are rendered inert. Liuba's autopsy reveals a cause of death: asphyxiation. The trachea and throat are packed with fine clay and silt. She likely fell through ice into a muddy riverbed, drowning in the slurry that would become her tomb. This mud flash froze around her, protecting the body from scavengers and the elements. The permafrost became a perfect 40,000-year deep freeze. The evidence here is of a different order. We are not analyzing mineral replacements or carbon stains. We are analyzing actual organic tissue: muscle, skin, internal organs. Scientists have extracted milk from her stomach. They have sequenced fragments of her DNA. This is not a ghost bleeding into stone. This is the original text, the biological source code. This level of preservation creates a new paradox. The body is too perfect. It erodes the boundary between the past and the present. It raises the question of de-extinction, a technical and ethical minefield. The very completeness of the evidence forces a choice. Is this a subject for an autopsy or a blueprint for a resurrection? The frozen earth is a volatile archive. As the permafrost thaws, it is releasing its dead. Each new discovery is a race against time. A race to study the specimen before the ancient clock of decay, paused for millennia, begins to tick again. A sterile lab. A cold light. The case files are laid out. A slide of iron-rich microstructures. A high-resolution scan of fossilized skin. A carbon film silhouette. A core sample of frozen muscle. The evidence is conclusive. The law of decay can be broken. We have performed the autopsy on the process itself. We have seen the different mechanisms of the crime. Iron from the victim's own blood, forming a chemical cage. Mineral-rich water, forging a perfect stone replica of flesh. Volcanic ash, creating a carbon shadow at the moment of death. A deep freeze, stopping the biological clock entirely. The common element is not luck. It is violence. A chemical or geological assault so sudden and so absolute that it neutralizes the agents of decomposition. This creates a forensic paradox. Our most pristine evidence, our clearest view into the deep past, comes from the most extreme and unusual circumstances. We are studying a collection of freak accidents. These preserved anomalies are not a representative sample. They are the outliers, the statistical noise. They create an illusion of clarity, a false sense of connection to a world that is, by any rational measure, completely gone. The true story is not in these preserved few. It is in the trillions of organisms that were efficiently recycled by the system, the ones that left nothing behind. No flesh, no bone, no trace. The soft tissue that survives is not a message in a bottle. It is a glitch in the program of total erasure. The stone does not remember. It is simply where the forgetting stopped for a moment.